Welcome to another episode of the CPG Guys podcast. Our co-hosts, Sri Rajagopalan and Peter V.S. Bond, explore how brands and retailers engage with consumers online, in-store, and everywhere in between. And now, here are Sri and Peter.
Hello, folks, and welcome back to this episode of the CPG Guys podcast. I'm Sri, one of the aforementioned CPG guys. My areas of expertise and fun topics are branding, D2C, omni-channel retail, P&L, connected commerce, retail media, and marketplaces. I'm joined by the other CPG guy, and today we've decided to be nice and call each other CPG guys and the other CPG guy, because Peter got all fiesty earlier today, referring back to the Yankees-Dodgers rivalry, with his team being half a point behind, but I won't bring it up. Half a game behind. But he's an expert at CRM, loyalty, digital shelf content, customer data and insights, CRM and loyalty. Sometimes I lovingly call him the man with the golden voice and the radio face. Mr. Bond, how are you today?
Sri, always a pleasure to do this podcast with you. I come away from every episode understanding more about this absolutely wonderful industry that you and I work in. And part of that exploration is doing so with you that I so deeply enjoy. So thanks for doing this with me.
Thank you, Peter. What a gentleman. No digs at all back in return. I have to learn from him. But before we get to our guest today, Peter, I want to remind our audience you can find all our content by simply going on your browser to cpgguys.com. Podcasts, video, published documents where we did a profitability series that you asked us for last fall, the women's series that we did, leadership series we did last fall. You can find that too. And by the way, you shaped the show. So how you can continue to do that and tell us who you want on the show, who we talk to, what topics we actually cater to you, is simply by going to LinkedIn, linkedin.com, search up top in the browser area for CPG Guys and hit the plus blue button. Yeah, it's actually blue. I noticed that, Peter. And when you do that, you can follow the CPG Guys and join this growing family, which is now close to 6,500 organic followers. I see our guest shaking his head because in LinkedIn, that's a lot. And this didn't happen overnight, but you made it happen. So we want to say thank you for that as well. So do join the conversations with us and continue to shape the outcome of the show. So now let's jump to our guests. Our guests for this third part of our partnership series with Label Insight on product transparency are Tim, Vice President of Marketing at Label Insight, and Josh Goldman, leader of NielsenIQ's Health and Wellness Initiative. Needless to say, therefore, I'm pretty sure we're going to be discussing the intersection of label attributes and how they impact health and wellness. Just like Peter and me, both are CPG industry veterans with expertise in helping CPG brands and retailers grow through their omni-channel health and wellness programs. Join me in giving a hearty welcome to Tim and Josh. How are you guys today? Josh?
Oh, great. It's terrific to get a chance to meet with you and do this together with Tim.
Welcome aboard. Tim, episode 2, which featured about a month ago, which was early June 2021, we learned about the recent acquisition of Label Insight by NielsenIQ. So it is needless to say, it's now a NielsenIQ company. What's happened in the last month? How is that partnership evolving?
Yeah, good question. First of all, I was the one nodding my head when you talked about the auspicious statistics of the CPG guys. As a marketer, it's just stunning your growth. I think, up over 6,000 or so LinkedIn followers and geez, not a year, a little bit over a year or something, and millions of downloads. And just congratulations to you guys. I'm a little bit like, a little fanboy almost to be here. So thank you for that. But yeah, so Label Insight was acquired a little over a month ago by NielsenIQ, an Advent International portfolio company. Really exciting for us, especially related to health and wellness, because this now brings together the attribute data of Label Insight together with the retail measurement and panel data Nielsen IQ to just create the world's leading source of health and wellness data. And it's a $175 billion market, health and wellness globally. So really, really big opportunity for us to help brands and retailers with everything from signal identification all the way through retail measurement. So very excited. We're very energized. This enables us to take label insight and expand our purpose on a global scale. And I will say, the response to the market has been very, very positive so far.
That's awesome to hear. And I want to say congratulations as well to both of you for the integration and how this is playing out for both of you. So Peter and I are, needless to say, interested in new approaches to product data, given we've both spent quite some time in the omnichannel evolving world these days. And we're also passionate about health and wellness. So what a great intersection for our conversation. So I'm going to start here with Josh. Josh, this is the third episode of a 3-part series that we've spoken to Label Insight. So we understand quite a bit about that business, but I want to specifically get into the health and wellness space and what opportunity Nielsen IQ sees in this space and how value is created in this space by Label Insight.
Yeah, absolutely. And for us, it was a couple of key trends and considerations as we thought about the acquisition and the opportunity. The first was really just how all consumers really are health and wellness consumers today. Overwhelmingly, people are making choices based on dietary, lifestyle, values. It's really become a cross-cutting trend. And what that's meant really is that this is now purchasing across all retail channels. So it's not strictly a natural channel phenomenon. It's really across everything from conventional to e-commerce to DTC. And that we think is a big change. The other is that consumers increasingly are demanding transparency in what they see and what they can know about their purchase choices. And so those two key trends really drove our decision. We already knew Label Insight. We'd had a good partnership with them prior to the acquisition. And really, they're just the unrivaled in the industry in terms of the breadth and depth of their product information. And we knew that if we wanted to really capture this big health and wellness opportunity and really help our clients grow, they were a key cornerstone for us in really creating a powerhouse in that area and really opening that opportunity in total. And it's actually an enormous market. So Tim referenced the $175 billion. That's actually a U.S. market number. It's probably closer to about $200 billion at this point today in 2021. So it's anywhere from 10 to 20% of all CPG purchasing, depending on how you want to really define the market. So really a big segment that we think is very much a growth area.
Josh, thanks for that. Tim Whiting, welcome to the podcast. We've been talking prior to us recording that we have so many common connections, and my having worked for a bit of time in that space, we're just shocked that we hadn't crossed paths before this. So really excited to have you on. Thank you for joining us today. We had the opportunity in the first 2 episodes to speak with both Todd Morris, your CEO, and Dagan Xavier, Label Insight's co-founder, about how Label Insight's business operates. Health and wellness really seem to have been a core undertone right from the beginning of our conversations for Label Insight. Do you agree with that?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think, what you probably heard from Dagan was the founder's story, which is so compelling, not only because he has a great accent, right? But the idea of the company came from a health issue that his father had. And, Dagan at the time was, I think he was in what they call university, over there, as a nutrition student. And, his father's, physician said, "Hey, you need to find a diet with, that's very low sodium, low fat, etc." And so Dagan said, "How hard can this be? I'll go out into, the supermarket and I'll find the products." But what he found out was really, really hard. And that was really, the catalyst and the birth of the business. And so health and wellness was at the very core. And over time, the definition of health and wellness has expanded, not only the products you put in your body, but also the products you put on your body and the products that are around you. It's a really broad definition. And, last year we did a great study with FMI to really try to quantify health and wellness. And what we found was in the U.S., there's about 200 million or over 200 million consumers that shop based upon some type of health related diet or other preference. There's another 180 million that are shopping based upon some type of allergen intolerance or allergen sensitivity. And these are big numbers. If you want to put that in perspective, that's more people than have licenses to drive in the United States. And so it's a big opportunity. And by the way, FMI has continued to do some great work. They just did another study I'm going to pitch here because I think it's great. It's called The Power of Health and Well-Being in the Food Industry, Changing Landscape in a Time of Transformation, 2021. It really talks to the pandemic and health and wellness, et cetera. So that's aside. But anyway, so there's this big market, and it was the root of Label Insight. And when you think about what we do, we basically define the DNA of a product. So the attributes related to primarily health and wellness. So does something help you as a consumer follow the keto diet? Is it low FODMAP? Is it paraben free? Is it, if you have a pet, is it clean dog food? So all of these things really relate back to health and wellness, and really our commercial purpose is to help brands and retailers make sense of this to better serve consumers. But our organizational purpose, which is, stated as we empower consumers, we empower people with the knowledge to make better product choices to live better lives. So really that health and wellness has been at the root from the very beginning of what Label Insight is all about.
Awesome, Tim. Peter and you referred to the episode with Xavier. That was a very special episode for me because we were able to give Peter the cricket analogies that he was so badly craving. Just the entire episode, there were maybe 6 or 8 of them. That's what happens when you combine an Aussie with a British guy and a guy who was raised in India in his childhood. And
so, Sri, I have to pay you a compliment. Both Dagan and Roy told me offline that they were even intimidated by the depth and the breadth of your cricket references. So you can put yourself at a level even amongst those that grew up with cricket. So congratulations for that.
How about that? I'll go head to head with anybody on football, baseball, and cricket. My 3 second loves after
which football?
In my life,
which football? That's all I want. Football, American football, or football, the rest of the world football?
Oh, so I'm one of those snobs that didn't know there's another football, Peter.
That's a whole nother story.
Yeah, it's Canadian football, right, Peter?
110
CFL.
yards. What's that? 3 downs?
CFL.
3
now
downs?
Now, Tim, you're going to make me say that's where the rejects from the NFL go. Come on, man. We just said we're CPG guy 1 and 2, and we got to behave. But Josh, it's time for health and wellness again. And you can clearly see that's going to be where my questions are today. So let's try to decompose and break down Label Insight's health and wellness product attribute data in more detail and how it's actually going to complement NielsenIQ's datasets. And in terms of our audience listening in, how will that actually drive more value for brands and their businesses?
For sure. So this really is the great part about what drove our decision in terms of coming together and really capitalizing on this. Really, from our standpoint, we feel like the market's moved past some of the standard views in terms of, say, brand, size, flavor, form. These are still critical to understanding your performance and your benchmark in the industry. But when it comes to the tough part, finding growth, how do I continue to grow? Where's the opportunity for brands? We really think the game is changing, and the industry winners are going to be those who are looking for what we think of as precision growth. So what are these pockets that I can find? And this really is the power of applying the Label Insight attribution against the NielsenIQ assets and capability around consumers, the market, innovation. And that really is how this comes together to be powerful for brands and retailers to win. So let's get some examples. Best way to think about this is that attribution really unlocks something you didn't see before. It's almost like the people who have those big reveals with the glasses, they were colorblind, then they get those in chroma glasses, and boom, like all of a sudden the world looks totally different and they can see colors. That's the way we think about what this attribution from Label Insight really opens up for us. All of a sudden I can see around the corner, I can see what's growing, and it isn't just, why is this brand, why is that segment? All of a sudden you know why, and you're able to capitalize on it. So couple of examples. Let's take beauty, which when we talk health and wellness may not be the first category that comes to mind, but because of the product attribution we have with Label Insight, all of a sudden we can help the retailers and the brands understand, oh my goodness, vegan is growing 40% year over year in the beauty category. Products that are either vegan claimed or vegan qualified, or that sulfate free is an $18 billion segment in beauty. That's what we mean by really unlocking that hidden growth and that precision growth opportunity. So for us, that's what this is really about, and how do we bring this across the whole set of Nielsen IQ capabilities around insight, analytics, and activation, and power of label insight attribution.
Josh, that's actually quite interesting, thinking about all of these elements that enable people to live authentic, health-focused lives. It's got to be critically an enabler of their ability to do so. Let me go back to Tim. How should our audience be thinking about leveraging product data to ultimately address the needs of shoppers, say, as the example Josh talked about with allergies?
I think there's a couple things. One, there's the opportunity, which Josh articulated, and I go back to the research I shared, where there's 180 million shoppers in the U.S. that are looking for products based upon allergies or intolerances. So these are big numbers. That's a big market opportunity, and it's really ripe to unlock new areas of growth. There's also a side of this which is about risk. So when you think about allergens, sesame was just named. A law was passed in the U.S. this past year that named sesame as an allergen that now needs to be disclosed by manufacturers by law. And based upon our analysis, our database, we identified over 160,000 products currently in the market that may contain hidden sources of sesame. And so that's a pretty big deal, right? So there's a big opportunity. There's also a risk that needs to be mitigated. The Food Allergy Research and Education Fair is a great organization. We partner with them very closely. In fact, breaking news, we just signed a deal with them. We're now their preferred data partner to help educate consumers on allergens. So more to come on that. But they are just a great source of information about allergens. In fact, there's a stat I pulled here from Fair. Every 3 minutes, a food allergy reaction sends someone to the emergency room in the U.S. Every 3 minutes. So it's a big deal. And so allergens are an example of the problems we're solving, right? Because it's hard for brands and retailers to understand the makeup of their products. So something like gluten is pretty easy. Everyone knows gluten, and that's a pretty easy, allergen to keep track of. But, based upon our analysis, in a single food category, there's over 35,000 ways that the presence of allergens are stated today. So there's a lot of opportunity for confusion. There's a lot of chaos. And that's really what Label Insight is all about, taking those 35,000 different ways to talk about allergens in a single category and making that orderly and useful to both brands, retailers, and the consumers they serve with an element of trust behind it. So, the brands and the retailers and the consumers know the information out there is correct. And so really you think about our customers, brands and retailers, they can use this product DNA related to allergens to really understand at a very granular level the products in their own portfolios and assortments, which candidly, many brands and retailers don't have that level of granularity today about many product attributes, much less allergens. And so this is the exact problem that we solve. We help drive, transparency. We help drive insight out there in the market.
Thank you for that, Tim. I'm going to continue my questions on health and wellness. And this time, Josh, I'm back at you with nutrients. Earlier you already mentioned nutrients, so let's take a deeper dive into that. Why should our audience care about product nutrient data? Is it because nutrient and a food product label, especially when you talked about the sesame allergy and how it's been recognized these days and how many are non-compliant, is nutrient and a food product label just synonymous?
So there's a couple of things, probably just to level set. There's a few different categories of things that Label Insight captures. So nutrient, like the nutrition panel with the sugar, carbohydrate, the minerals, the vitamins, etc. There's also ingredients, there's also claims, there's also certification. So it's a very broad capture, allergen declarations, etc. What's really critical is to step back and realize that increasingly more and more consumers want to know what is in the food and beverages that they're buying, or even the personal care products that they're putting on their skin. And so from a nutrient standpoint, the FMI study actually called out that many people are looking to eat more nutritiously during the pandemic. So 49% of respondents said that more or somewhat more that are looking to eat more nutritiously. So what does that mean? That means that they're really desperate for the right information about what's in these products and the nutritional content, which sometimes brands want to trumpet, sometimes they want to. And so really what Label Insight is powering is a deep view of that can be used in lots of ways, whether it's for the consumer information, whether it's for thinking about the category growth, but really that kind of interrogation and expertise that Label Insight has working with the FDA, the scale and automation and AI that they built into how they actually build nutrients. It's critical to delivering on the promise of the consumer, as well as helping the brands understand, can I be a better match for a consumer? Are people looking for heart healthy or low sodium, or they're looking for high fiber products? It's really a way to see that, especially as the shelf has gone digital, and you need to have the digital version of that content, not just what's on the label at a shelf in a store.
Tim, as the father of a rambunctious 2-year-old, I think I should have been disclosed how much Sesame Street that I was going to have to endure over the last year, but that's another story. Let's talk about taking the knowledge of what a product is and turning that into an activation. What is Label Insight doing in the marketplace to support retailers' health and wealth initiatives so that consumers that are shopping their digital shelves or even their physical shelves, right, it's omni-channel, can live these authentic health lifestyles?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Label Insight has been working with retailers for a long time, activating omni-channel programs. For example, Target, we've great customer and partner where we've been powering their health and wellness icon program, both on store and in-store and online for a few years at least. But what's recently happened in the pandemic is the emergence of two major trends. One, as Josh mentioned, is this heightening propensity of consumers to be thoughtful about shopping with particular health and wellness need states in mind. The other one, which I'll mention, although I probably don't have to mention to this audience, is the boom in grocery e-commerce. I just saw some statistics that by the end of 2021, grocery e-commerce is forecast to be a $100 billion business in the U.S., which will be more than 12% of all e-commerce spend across all categories in the U.S. And so the intersection of these two trends have really accelerated the number and types of retailers and brands that are thinking about health and wellness. So, you've got traditional players like Target and Walmart. We also do work with Walmart with their omni-channel health and wellness. You've got, I would say, not new players, but I guess more visible players like Instacart, who we work with to help, bring health and wellness top of mind. We've got partners like our great partner Fetch Rewards, who's thinking about product attribute data in terms of how they're able to serve their constituencies, and it's popping up in some surprising places. So, for example, we work with Coupon Media, who is very, very active in the convenience store channel, where we see the C stores thinking more and more about health and wellness and serving their constituencies there. And then a great example is GoPuff. GoPuff is one of our customers, and you could argue the origins of GoPuff are really like the opposite of health and wellness, right? But because of their changing consumer, they now use our data to curate a very specific health and wellness store in their experience. And they do a great job of serving this consumer base that is interested in health and wellness. So I guess in terms of activation, we're just seeing an explosion of the ways that retailers and brands are thinking about our data and leveraging it to activate in the market.
Josh, can you build upon what Tim just shared with us?
Consumer facing. First off, with e-commerce, item substitution on online order fulfillment has become a huge issue for every retailer or third-party player like Instacart Ship. And it's a key dissatisfier potential with consumers, as well as it drains the basket and profitability. So getting it right on substitution is a big deal. You need the right attributes to do that. So if your shopper has bought a low-fat or a vegan ice cream, for instance, you need to be recommending products that are, in fact, still compliant with that if you really want to hit a home run on that substitution piece. That extends, we think, over time as people really understand this more and consumers express what they're looking for into product recommendations, how can I better build a basket, and then broadly into maybe the shopper profile. So the loyalty game has been around a long time, but we expect that game is going to get upped as people better understand how their consumer segments and their shopper types are actually engaging with them, what they're interested in. And then Tim mentioned coupon media, but we think there's tremendous upside around brands and retailers working together in the retail media space and really creating much more precise kind of audiences that are better geared towards the health and wellness and lifestyle choices of those consumers. So a couple of bills that we see over time from what's become the burning need right now that's in outline.
Josh, we've had a lot of conversation on health and wellness in general and product attribute data and how they intersect and create value for brands. What is it that you haven't told us, or I haven't asked you, or Peter hasn't asked you as of now? What should brands be thinking about in terms of health and wellness that we haven't spoken about at all over here, especially with this transformative omni-channel shopper?
Yeah. So I think there's a couple of key things to have in mind. One is this is an innovation game. We believe that there's going to be a lot of different innovations. Could be extensions, could be new brands, there's going to be acquisitions. You see a lot that's already happened in retail private label. They have seen health and wellness as a key way for them to drive growth, profitability, capture shoppers. That's one. I think DTC, direct to consumer, will continue to be a big thing that challenges some of the brands. And then lastly, you see some of the brands already making big investments. Hershey made a big announcement about better for you candy. You see brands like Mondelez, where they're talking a lot about mindful snacking. It is a big area for, we think, innovation. The other key thing, we've touched upon it, and I know some of the previous series, but I just want to emphasize it was a big part of how we thought about this. The shelf has gone digital. The question is whether you have, and the consumer's gone digital. So are you there? Are you resident? Do you have the right content? Are you representing yourself right? That, I think, is a big, very near-term thing that's kind of changed for people and how they should think, given that the world's really gone omni at this point.
Thank you, Josh. And to Tim, I'd ask you, do you have any data or insights around the impact of this? And then how, obviously, do you advise your retail and CPG clients to better serve the needs of their shoppers in the health and wellness space?
Yeah, so there's a study that was mentioned before in one of the previous episodes, but I think it's very, very relevant to this conversation, so I'm going to bring it up again. It's actually an audit that we did of the top 30 retail CPG grocery retail sites. And it's actually available in a study called Empty Aisles. You can go to the Label Insight website and grab it if you want. But basically, we went out and audited the 30 sites. What we found was 21 out of 30 offered some type of health and wellness attribute-related search filter. So that's pretty good. But then you also think about, well, not 9 didn't have any options at all, for consumers that just want to go on and use faceted search to filter for health and wellness needs. But that aside, of the ones that had filters, what we found was they overlooked 80% of the health and wellness attributes that are most important to consumers in the U.S. So that there were filters, but they're missing a significant number of need states that consumers and shoppers are thinking about. And you think about connecting that to shopper loyalty and customer experience and growth, et cetera. I mean, that's really pretty stunning. But maybe most importantly, what we found is when we went on these sites, and we searched for products, the assortment that was brought back for the health and wellness attributes that were available as a filter, we're missing over 90% of the products in the retailer's assortment that qualified to be brought back for that search. And we're able to determine that because we have visibility into this product DNA across all of the products in the assortment, all the manufacturer data. And that's really stunning when you think about that. When you think about how important a fully stocked shelf is to a retailer and the fact that their existing websites are missing 90% of the products that they have in their assortment. They're being failed to be pulled back by these health and wellness searches. That's just stunning. And that's just a major, major opportunity. So I think that really puts sort of a commercial spin to this conversation about the significant opportunity that retailers and brands have to serve this large and growing constituency. And right now, frankly, it's a broken experience.
Wow. Just nothing short of wow. I feel like I've learned so much today. But I want to remind all our audience first that you can find all our CPG Guys content on simply by going to cpgguys.com on the browser of your choice. Join our growing LinkedIn family that we have referred to earlier on this episode. Easy to do that. Simply go to linkedin.com, go to the search tab, and simply type in CPG Guys, spelled CPG Guys. That easy. The blue plus button will appear. All you have to do is click it and follow us. And what you can do is join the family, get involved in the dialogue, you shape the show, tell us who you want on the show, what topics you want to discuss, and that's what you'll see on the show, and those are the topics we will discuss. So we can't thank you enough for growing this family and getting it to where it is today. This episode is the third of a three-part series we chose to do with Label Insight. So, Tim and Josh, I want to thank you both for joining the show, being part of it with us today, and speaking candidly to our audience and us about the intersection of Nielsen IQ and Label Insight, aka food label attributes, product label attributes, intersecting with health and wellness. Thank you to both of you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. It was a great pleasure.
To my friend, Mr. Peter Bond, the man with the golden voice and the radio face, I can't thank you enough for doing this week over week with me and tolerating my idiosyncrasies.
Idiosyncrasies aside, Shri, this was a great episode. It talks to how brands and retailers, if they want to succeed in an increasingly digital world, have to pay attention so that the products they're selling can resonate with consumers who are trying to live authentic lifestyles. We talk a lot about things that are required, that there's no longer an option to do this. This is clearly one of those, right? We need to start advancing this in our industry to make sure that the transparency of products and their qualification for lifestyles are easily accessible to consumers shopping in an omnichannel world.
So true, Peter. And again, thank you to our guests for joining us. We will see you soon in another episode of the CPG Guys.
The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.